So court ordered him for a mental evaluation. And that's where they stick you in the back room in a straitjacket, and they give you the juice. And no one ever saw Gagan since. I don't know if he's dead or alive, or they scrambled his brain. What they were doing is making sure he'd never be able to go to court.
All right, we got school. 6 cruel hours of our lives. We got a P, got a dot, and we got an E. And that is pointless exercise. What the government is not telling us.
The problem is some of these things have been committed by our government are so monstrous and so unbelievable that, well, that last part works. People simply don't believe it.
In October of 1994, Harold Leonard, another asset contractor, contacted me, and we went out in the woods. And he always gets up under the canopies of the trees so satellites can't see him, and he's real paranoid. But he had a backpack with $500,000 cash. It was a purple and black backpack. Where are we going, back to Saudi Arabia or what? And he said, no. He said, this is a domestic job. And I said, oh, it's here in the States? I said, what kind of job is it? And he said, it's an EOD job, explosives and demolitions. And I said, oh, well, what is it? And he said, it's a federal building. And I said, what? He said, federal building. I said, which one? He said, the Alfred P. Murr building, Oklahoma City. And I said, look, I'll go overseas and do this stuff we did, but I will not do this to our own people. There's no way. I said, you guys are crazy. Anyway, so I turned the job down. And then when the actual building blew up on April 19th of 1995, I went black. I figured they were going to kill me. One day after the job, called me and he said, you need to leave the country. And I said, why? He said, well, you know about that op. You turned it down. You turned from ability. He said, you need to get out of there. And he offered me the keys to his house in Belize and said, I'll meet you there, and then we'll stage you out from there and go somewhere. And I told him, no, I'm not going to run. I'm not going to talk. I'm not going to say anything. So I went black, and we had false ID. Barry Nichols and Timothy McVeigh had been indicted in the 10th District bombing. And I knew there was a massive cover-up going on and that they were the patsies. I was supposed to be a patsy, but they planted me with false evidence and then arrested me on October 7th. And the CIA came and picked me up. And there was a whole bunch of ATF agents. I was lit up like a Christmas tree. I was fixing to go to Cairo, Egypt the next day. And I went to pick up some money from Blake Butler. And anyway, the CIA ran me in, and they asked me direct questions about Bill Clinton. They knew the FBI was going to talk to me, and they just didn't want me talking about any of the covert ops they knew I was involved in. And they were just going to sweep it all under the rug like some kind of domestic law enforcement thing. So I was planted with evidence, and they took me before in the 10th Circuit Federal Court. Now, this is all to shut me up because I talk and I know about all this stuff. And so they put me in front of Judge Edward Nottingham in the 10th Circuit Court, John. This guy was nominated to his position by Director of Central Intelligence George Bush Sr. in the 70s. Okay? So Nottingham was their CIA-appointed judge, basically, in every case that had anything to do with national security. Now, the prosecuting United States attorney at the time was none other than Tom Strickland. Tom Strickland had been directly appointed by Bill Clinton. So the fix was in. When Clinton first got to be president in 92 after he left Arkansas, he knew they'd been running a bunch of dirty ops down there, money laundering, the whole thing. And so he fired every United States attorney in the whole country. And so the fix was in here. Okay. Meanwhile, McVeigh and Nichols were going into the trial. The whole thing was rigged big time. And I have a lot of stuff in here. So, Judge Nottingham said I was too dangerous to be in the regular prison population and ordered me into solitary confinement at the SHU, Special Housing Unit, at the FCI Inglewood in Littleton, Colorado. And they put me in there 3 cells down from McVeigh in Supermax. They took out my mattress. They took out my mattress, took out all the blankets and everything. All I have is a pair of skivvies, and I slept on the concrete floor. They left the lights off for days. They were trying to break me. They throw me in there 6 to 8 weeks at a time. I was getting real weak because I was afraid to eat the food. I thought the CIA would poison me to shut me up about what I knew about the Murrah building. Meanwhile, there was a guy named Kerry James Gagan, G-A-G-A-N. He was also a CIA asset like me, and his handlers in Denver had given him a van load of C4 plastic explosives 3 days before the Murrah building went off. His job, operationally, was to drive that load of explosives down to Trinidad, Colorado, where he was to meet his contacts. He didn't know who they were. They had codes, and the contacts were 3 Middle Eastern men. And these men had copies of the Murrah building blueprints. And Gagan looked at them. They were in English. And he looked at them and got spooked. He got real spooked. And he thought, holy shit, I'm going to be Apache or something. So he drove straight back to the Secret Service office in Denver, and he told them, he said, look, I think... Well, the CIA got wind of it. And so they went and planted Kerry Gagan with explosives at his house, just like they planted me with evidence. And then they threw him in there with us. So now they had in the 10th Circuit, okay, they had me, Timothy McVeigh, and Kerry Gagan all together. We were the 3 people, and Terry Nichols. We were the 4 people. Anyway, so McVeigh's executed, Nichols down, it's me and Gagan left. So we were all scared to death. And we're in Supermax solitary confinement in the worst place they had. He court-ordered Gagan to go to the Springfield Medical Facility in Springfield, Missouri. It's a maximum security federal correctional facility where they send the criminally insane, and there's a medical facility. So he court-ordered him for a mental evaluation. And that's where they stick you in the back room in a straitjacket, and they give you the juice. And no one ever saw Gagan since. I don't know if he's dead or alive, or they scrambled his brain. What they were doing is making sure he'd never be able to go to court. So I was the last one left up there, okay, with the murder. So I was the last one left up there, okay, with the Murrah building thing. And I finally got out on a short bond. I've been there 18 months, and they let me out pending trial. And so I went about 4 years and never even had a motions hearing. Everything in my trial, every hearing except the bond hearings, were sealed. They kicked out the U.S. Marshals. They kicked out the court transcribers. They played those tapes that were made. My attorney, Harvey Steinberg, he was the Denver Broncos football team attorney at the time. They had sealed hearings, and they saw that. And Harvey Steinberg came to me, and he says, man, you're lucky they don't just kill you. He said, you're never going to trial. They will never, ever let this stuff in any courtroom anywhere. Hired a tape expert. His name was Val Williams. He was a digital electronics forensic specialist. He did work for the Central Intelligence Agency at one time. He had coffee with 3 sitting presidents, Reagan, Bush, and Clinton. his job was to bug and debug the White House. And I hired him to work, and we had absolute proof that the ATF had tampered with the tape and that I'd been planted with evidence. And so 4 years had went by. And Judge Nottingham said, look, this guy, on July the 24th of 1999, he set a hearing, and he said, this is the last thing. We have to do this. And so on July the 7th, 2 weeks before that of 1999, I was cleaning my window on a Crown Victoria LTD at a Walmart parking lot on 8th Street, Colorado Springs. My wife was in there shopping. And I was leaned over the hood, cleaning the windshield, and I never saw it, but I heard it. And I heard a car approaching rapidly, and then the motor floored and the tires spinning and the squealing. The next thing I remember, there was a crash. It knocked me back up into another car. I rolled over that hood. I bounced off the fender of another car and hit a concrete light pole, and I was unconscious. And I have proof of all this. I have all the medical records, everything. Now, this was 2 weeks before the hearing that we were going to get all this evidence. We had 100% proof. Valentine, the tape expert, told me you're going to take down the whole ATF office in Colorado Springs. You've got them with perjury, obstruction of justice, conspiracy to commit perjury, conspiracy to obstruct justice, and a whole host of other charges. And he said, they're never going to let you get this into court. They're going to kill you. These guys were at Waco. These guys were at Ruby Ridge, where Vicki Weaver got shot in the neck. They were at the Murrah building the day it was bombed, but called in sick. He said, these are shadow government guys. The judge was appointed by the CIA director. The U.S. attorney was appointed by President Clinton. You're never going to get a fair trial. And so sure enough, they hit me in that thing, and I spent a couple of weeks in the hospital. My doctor told me, you're lucky to be alive. You're lucky it didn't kill you. So I'm almost done, and I was... and up pulls a car in my front yard. I looked out, and it was Harold Leonard, the contractor who had offered me the $1 million job to blow up the Murrah building. I went down there unarmed, and I thought he was going to kill me. I didn't care. I was done. I don't care. And he had his hands, Harold Leonard had his hands on the wheel with the motor running in his SUV. And he rolled the window down. And I said, what's up? He said, look, man, me and Harold were friends. We'd done ops together. I mean, he was my brother. He said, look. He said, they've given us the order, if you go to court and talk about the Murrah building, we've been ordered to kill you. And he pointed right up here to my house where my wife and kid were. And he said, we've been ordered to kill your family too. And so this was a deep state cover-up of the Murrah building bombing. The question is, why? Why? Why did they do it? Pretty shocking stuff, John. Are you guys, you ready for it?